Guys, for a long time, my subscribers have been telling me to make video on static and dynamic routing. So today we are going to discuss three things. First thing, what is routing? What is routing? After that, how many types of routing? Static routing and dynamic routing. After that, how many types of dynamic routing are there, right? So first thing is routing. So guys, what is routing? If interviewer will ask you to explain routing, what will be your answer, right? So routing is the process of selecting a path from source to destination, or you can say routing is the process of selecting path from one network to another network, And how many types of routing? So there are two types of routing. First one is static routing, right? Static routing, and second one is dynamic routing. And first of all, talk about static routing. So what is static routing? Guys, in static routing, the network administrator will give unknown network information to the router, right? Who will give the information about unknown network, right? Network administrator, or you can say network engineer. Network engineer will give unknown network information to the router. But in dynamic routing, we will run a process on router. We will run a protocol on router, right? And that protocol will share routing information, unknown network information to the router, right? So in dynamic routing, that process will give network information to the router, and in static routing, network administrator will give the unknown network information to the router, right? So we have three flavors to configure a static routing, right? First one is a static routing using exit interface, static routing using next hop IP address, and static routing using next hop IP address with exit interface, right? Next hop IP address and exit interface. This is combo, right? Combination of both exit interface plus next hop IP address. And if I talk about dynamic routing, so in dynamic routing, we will run a process on router. So let's understand with one example. After that, we will discuss how many types of dynamic routing are there. Okay. So first of all, let me make you more clear that suppose we have some router like this, R1, R2. Okay, suppose we have only two router and we have one network over here, which is 10.0.0.0/8, and we have one network 20.0.0.0/8, right? So if I will configure a static routing over here, then I have to tell network engineer have to configure each and every unknown network, right, on router. So here 20 network is unknown for R1, and here for R2 10 network is unknown. So network engineer have to configure on R1, right, about 20 network, and network administrator have to configure about 10 network on R2, right, on R2. But in dynamic routing, we will run a process over here. Just suppose I will run a process, and that process is OSPF. Now OSPF, this process will share this prefix information to this router, right? So now who is telling to R2 about 10 network, about unknown network? OSPF, right? OSPF. And in the same way, on R2 I am also using OSPF. I configured OSPF on R2 as well. So this process will share this prefix with R1, right? So this process will share which process? OSPF process. So how many types of dynamic routing are there? There are two types of dynamic routing, right? There are two types of dynamic routing. So first one is IGP, Interior Gateway Protocol, and second one is EGP, Exterior Gateway Protocol, Interior Gateway Protocol or Exterior Gateway Protocol. If I talk about IGP protocol, so there are three types of IGP protocol. First one is distance vector routing protocol. Second one is advanced distance vector routing protocol, right? And third one is link state routing protocol. How many types of IGP protocol are there? So there are three types of IGP protocol, right? And how many types of eBGP are there, right? So there are only one type of eBGP routing protocol, right? And example of eBGP routing protocol is BGP. BGP is exterior gateway protocol. But if I talk about IBGP, so there are three types of IBGP routing protocol, right? So first one is distance vector. So if I talk about distance vector, so there are two types of distance vector routing protocol. First one is RIP and second one is IGRP. IGRP, interior gateway routing protocol. If I talk about distance vector routing protocol, so EIGRP is your distance vector routing protocol, and link state routing protocol is OSPF. So OSPF is a link state routing protocol. OSPF is a link state routing protocol. EIGRP is a advanced distance vector routing protocol. IGRP is a distance vector routing protocol, and RIP is a distance vector routing protocol, right? So I had posted one question yesterday on my Facebook page as well, right? And that question was, which of the following is distance vector routing protocol? And option are RIP, EIGRP, OSPF, BGP. Option 4 was BGP, right? So many people were saying EIGRP, many are saying OSPF, right? Few are saying BGP, and many are saying RIP as well. So all the people who is saying RIP, you are absolutely right. But guys, who is saying EIGRP or OSPF or BGP, remember, right? RIP is a distance vector routing protocol. RIP is a distance vector routing protocol, not EIGRP, not BGP, OSPF, not BGP. BGP is EGP protocol, right? Exterior gateway routing protocol. OSPF is a link state routing protocol. EIGRP is a advanced distance vector routing protocol, and RIP and IGRP is a distance vector routing protocol, right? So hope it's clear to you now. How many types of routing are there? There are only two types of routing. First one is static, second one is dynamic, and there are two types of dynamic routing, right? You can make one chart like this: routing, after that static routing, and dynamic routing. There are two types of dynamic routing are there, right? IGP and EGP, right? There are three type of IGP protocol are there. First one is advanced distance vector routing protocol, advanced distance vector routing protocol, and third one is link state routing protocol, right? So there are two type of distance vector routing protocol. First one is RIP, second one is IGRP. There are one type of advanced distance vector routing protocol, and that is EIGRP, right? There are one type of link state routing protocol, that is OSPF, right? And there are one type of EGP protocol, right? That is BGP, right? So hope it's clear to you. What is the difference between static and dynamic routing? If interviewer is asking you, what is the difference between static and dynamic routing? So guys, make entry, right? That static routing is also known as by non-adaptive routing, which doesn't change routing table unless the network administrator change or modify them manually, right? Suppose we have a network like this: R1, R2, and R3, right? And here is one network 10.0.0.0/8. So for R1, there are two paths, right? To reach in this network, there are two paths, right? So network engineer, if suppose network engineer configured this path, right, to reach in 10 network, and after some time this link will goes down, then again network engineer has to manually configure this route, right? This route. But in dynamic routing, this sorter will automatically calculate this prefix, this route, if this link will go down, right? So in static routing doesn't use complex routing algorithm as well, right? You can make entry. that dynamic routing use complex algorithm to share the prefixes, right? But static routing is not using any complex algorithm, so it is the advantage of a static routing, right? And it's provide high and more security than dynamic routing. A static routing provide high and more security, right, than dynamic routing. And if I talk about dynamic routing, so in dynamic routing, we will run a process on router, and that process will share the prefixes with their neighbor. Fine. So this is how you can explain to interviewer if your interviewer is asking you to explain static routing and dynamic routing, how many types of static routing, how many types of dynamic routing, right? So that's all for today, guys. Right? Many of my follower were requesting me to make video on it. That's why I make this one video on this topic, static and dynamic routing, right? If you like this video, please hit on like button. If you haven't subscribed my channel, please subscribe my channel. We will meet soon in next video. Till then, stay safe, guys. Thank you. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.